What's up guys, Doug Polk here, and today we're going to look at some of the craziest hands we've had at the Lodge lately, including the largest pot this year where I got put into a very difficult situation. But let's go ahead and jump into our first hand here with an epic bluff from Terrace. Our hand begins at 100-200 with a $200 ante and a $400 straddle, and Mariano looks down at big slick suited, raising up to 1K to go, and now the action is over to Doc Hollywood with ace-5 of hearts. You can 3-bet, you can flat, both are fine, and he decides to go ahead and just call. Action now over to the button. Hook looks down, queen jack suited, kind of similar spot. You can 3-bet, you can call. The nice thing about just calling here, you get to try and realize your equity multi-way with a hand that plays very nicely post flop. I don't mind every now and then also 3-betting, trying to knock out some hands like ace jack off or king queen off. So those types of properties make a nice squeeze, but call totally fine as well. Now in the small blind here, Terrace looks down at 7-5 of clubs. This is kind of a classic poker hand spot. All three options on the table. We could fold, we could call, we could raise. Fold, probably the most conservative, maybe the most prudent play. Flat, obviously also okay with a multi-way pot. Certainly okay to get in there with hands that have pretty good equity multi-way. And then squeezing, also fine from time to time with a hand with nice playability and kind of masks our stronger hands. Action back to Mariano, certainly a spot that you want to 4-bet, because if Mariano just calls, obviously you can't get value from all the hands that are behind him from Terrace, but also you let in all these guys behind you too. So Mariano does decide to make it $20,000 to go, and the action folds back over to Terrace in the small blind. Now for Terrace here, 7-5 suited. This is kind of a tough spot. I certainly would like to either fold or maybe call, raising a bit too aggressive. I think out of position with an over 3x size 4-bet, I would just let this one go. But this hand does play kind of nicely against some of the very strong hands. Like for example, if Mariano has aces, these types of hands are the single best type of hands you can have against those really strong upper echelon hands for your opponent. So I don't hate calling, which Terrace does decide to do, and we take a flop.
Terrace is making this call. Both players whiff on this flop.
Quarter pot C-bet from Mariano.
The flop comes jack 6 deuce rainbow. Terrace checks, Mariano C-bets for 10K, and now over to Terrace with an absolutely terrible hand. Pretty easy. Wait, what are we doing here? No, Terrace, no, we don't even have a backdoor flush draw. Okay, the turn's a king. We can get away from this. We can get away from this, right, Terrace? We've got 7 high. We have the absolute nothing. Oh no. What are we thinking about? Why? What's he doing? No, Terrace.
Oh my
no,
God.
no. So the strategic breakdown here is just fold when you have nothing. Getting some good tips today on poker hands. Mariano can't be too thrilled to call here, but he does end up making the call correctly and will win a $335,000 pot headed his way over at Poker at the Lodge. Our next hand's a pretty wild one with 3 players all getting there, but 1 player having clearly the best of it. Let's jump into the action. In our next hand, we're playing the nit game. So if there's a red button on their name, they need to get out of the nit game to not pay a very expensive penalty. I forget what it was in this game. Maybe it was like $5,000-$6,000. So you certainly want to get rid of this red nit button in front of you. With that in mind, we have a slew of pre-flop action here. We see a raise from Muscle Mike to $600 under the gun +1. Trey in the hijack calling with Jack 10 suited. I call in the cutoff with pocket 5s. Tesla in there on the button with the 8-5 offsuit. Pierre letting go of the 4 deuce. Nice fold there, Pierre. One of your better plays on the stream. San calls with 4-3 diamonds and T1000 in there as well with the 9-7 off. And we have ourselves quite a multi-way pot with almost 4,000 bucks in there as we take a 6-way flop here at the Lodge. The flop comes 9-9-6. Everyone's getting in on the action here, kind of like my favorite place to play poker, where you can sign up using my favorite word. You can pause this video for more information. The 9-9-6 flop sees T1000 move way out into the lead here with 3 of a kind and 72% equity, but we do have a bunch of other hands here. We see Jack 10 suited with a flush draw, Tesla with a gut shot, and then a couple other backdoor type hands that could take it down. The action checks all the way to Tesla on the button, who takes a stab here with his straight draw, certainly a reasonable play. We got a couple of callers, and what would be the most possible action turn? That would be the 7 of spades, my friends. With all 3 players getting there, we now have top boat here for T1000, a flush for Trey, and a straight for Tesla, who has an open-ended straight flush draw. This is going to cost some players a lot of money. After a healthy size turn bet from Tesla and 2 calls, we take a river, which is the 10 of hearts. And now T1000 takes the betting lead, betting $35,000, enough to put Trey all in here on the river and a healthy chunk of Tesla's stack.
So tough here. What will he do, folks? Gonna lay it down. Tesla shows his straight. Makes the call. $118,000 pot. My God, folks.
One more hand until we look at the largest pot this year at Lodge Card Club. But before we get into it, we have this one from Hook and Terrace, where Terrace opens up under the gun 5-handed. Hook looks down at Ace Jack and 3 bets. And now back over Terrace, Ace King of Clubs. He does decide to put in a 4-bet to $10.1 thousand on a 100K stack. This is a tough spot, I think, for Hook here with Ace Jack on the button, and it's probably why I usually prefer to flat with hands like this and 3-bet a little more polarized, where I don't mind getting 4-bet. That said, of course, totally fine to 3-bet as well. And now he faces a pretty awkward 4-bet here. He is in position. I don't mind fold. I don't mind call. I don't mind 5-bet. I really don't mind any option here. Another classic poker hand spot. It's also worth noting this is a 200, 400, 1K ante game, so of course you're going to have very loose pre-flop ranges compared to a lot of normal spots. Hook does make the call, and we take a flop of Ace 9 7, a cooler flop here for Hook, flopping top pair third kicker, but up against Terrace's top pair top kicker. The question is going to be if Hook can get away.
No.
On a third size pot bet there from Terrace with top. Hook says, I'm coming along because I've got a pair of aces too. Those beautiful orange chips are 25,000, folks. And Terrace just tosses one in. 25 grand. All in from Hook.
The flop goes bet call. We take a turn. The 10 of diamonds rolls off. Terrace fires once again, $25,000, and Hook moves all in. Now the question is, can Terrace make the right call, or will he make a fold and find out some bad news?
Terrace makes his call. It's close to a $200,000 pot.
I mean, I have ace king.
Hook knows now he would need an 8
But I have a feeling
or a jack.
beat. But I mean, I can't fold it. It's crazy.
Makes the call. Biggest part of the day. Hook looking for an 8 or a jack. 198,000.
Terrace makes the call way ahead here, and Hook asks twice, at which this point, Terrace says one time.
They're going to rip it one time.
Once I do it once.
There's the 8.
And he paid the price. This brings us to the main event of today's video. We see a straddle here to $200, and we're playing the nit game. And the action kicks off with Muscle Mike limping under the gun with Queen 3 suited. And now Airball raising to $1,000 here with 8-6 of spades on an over $300,000 stack. The button folds, and I look down in the small blind at Ace King of Clubs. And unlike our good friend Terrace, who just lost a 200K pot with Ace King of Clubs, I want to be more like Mariano, who just won a $330,000 pot with Ace King of Clubs. And I make it $4,500 to go. Tesla now with the 10-8 of hearts decides to call in the big blind. Muscle Mike makes the call here under the gun, and Nik Airballs in there with the 8-6 of spades, and we're taking a 4-way flop where I'm feeling pretty good about my hand up against my 3 opponents.
We're going 4 ways.
Couple clubs for Doug.
Top pair for
2
Tesla.
pair for Airball.
What a flop. 8-6-3-2 clubs. Everyone's getting in on the action. Kind of like the Lodge's WPT Prime main event with $1 million guaranteed. For just $1,100, you can get in on the action for the first ever World Poker Tour event at Lodge Card Club in Austin, Texas. Let's just start off with my flop decision. This is a really tricky spot. We have a 4-way flop. You know, we have a couple players that are a little shorter, and then Airball is deeper. He covers me. So I don't mind bet. I don't mind check. They're both totally fine. I like checking some very strong flush draws in spots like this, particularly when like the king eye flush draw isn't possible to get value from, because if it checks through, obviously my hand's pretty nice. I can call any bet that players can make, and gives me flush draws both in my bets and my checks. Anyway, I check. Tesla checks. Mike checks. Airball bets 10K. Now, you could argue here in my spot, I can check raise occasionally. That seems fine. However, I do want to kind of keep the door open for the players behind to get in there. Maybe let them make moves. Maybe let them call with some worse equity. So I go ahead and just make the call, and then all hell breaks loose.
10,000 was the wager. Call action on Tesla, who jams
Oh my God.
for 111,000. It's top 2 for Airball.
All in from Airball. For 300,000. And what does Doug do now?
Tesla takes it to the streets, living up to his namesake with an all-in here over the bet and call. Now Airball thinks he makes the call, and the action's on me, and this is just a disaster spot. So this is what's going through my head in this situation. So I'm aware that Tesla's range can be the widest by a lot because he's jamming. He has fold equity. He can have straight draws. He can have pairs. He can have flush draws. He'll occasionally have very strong hands like, you know, an overpair or a set or two pair, but those are going to be much less likely than all of the draws out here on the flop. So I'm not too worried about Tesla. Meanwhile, Airball, when he calls Tesla's jam, that's a very, very scary thing because he obviously has no fold equity. He thinks he just simply has to be ahead of Tesla, knowing that I'm behind and I can occasionally have good hands. Like I would trap aces or kings here sometimes. I would trap a hand like pocket eights here sometimes. I can certainly have some strong hands in this situation too, although I'll mainly be more middling, so he doesn't have to be too scared, but it's certainly something to consider. The big question is, if Nik only ever has hands like sets or two pair, then my hand is actually a fold despite being a very strong hand, because up against sets, my hand is doing pretty poorly. You can see the equities here. Against two pair, I have 35%. If you run the math in this spot, I need to have about 35% in order to make this call. So this is a razor thin situation to be dealing with for all of your chips. And what's supposed to be a 5100 game, this would be a 500K pot when I make the call. What I have to think about here is, can Nik Airball have hands like 9-7 of clubs? I think obviously. 7-5 of clubs? I think obviously. Could he have a hand like 9-8 of clubs? Certainly, and that hand I'm doing much better against than a hand like two pair or a set. I can win on an ace, a king, or a club, so I have way more outs against those types of holdings. The other question is, what does Airball do here if he decides to just slow play preflop with a hand like queens or jacks or tens? I would think queens would 4-bet, given that Tesla did cold call my 3-bet preflop, as well as Mike, so I don't think he has queens all that often, but what would he do with tens or jacks? Those are tough spots to decide. I actually don't know, but it certainly possibly occasionally ends up with a hand like that, although I would discount it pretty heavily. Also, what would he do with a hand like 10-9 of clubs? What about queen jack of clubs? Do you think you have enough equity there if Tesla decides just to jam? These are all good questions. I don't think he has those hands that often, but if he has them just enough, you can make the call.
Alrighty.
Makes the call! One of the biggest pots
Airball.
on live stream history at the
Airball
lodge.
says one time, one run out, one board for $500,000.
Okay. Holy shit.
We're now all in for one of the largest pots we've ever had at the lodge, and I need a club or I'm gonna lose this $500,000 pot.
Ripping it one time.
Ace.
Now Doug picks up more outs.
Ace. Wow.
Nik Airball, who has been down the whole night, wins a $487,000 pot, stacks Tesla and Doug in one pot.
These are all hands from my monthly high stakes game. We have way more games coming up as well. If this is something you'd want to play in, feel free to reach out and we'll see if we can get you a seat. All right, thanks guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.